it, but we're not going to do it in relation to football. We're going to do it in relation to darts. Yes, darts. Is it time to talk player welfare in darts? Now then, despite a 6-1 win in the second round of the International Darts Open on Saturday, Luke Humphries remained in a fairly downbeat mood afterwards. So why was that? He said, "When I'm up on stage, I'm just feeling emotionless. It's weird, and it's me being honest to all the fans. I feel like my emotions are just all over the place. It's not that I don't want to be here. It just seems a chore for me at this moment. Too much darts. I'm playing too much. I think I need a break. I'm emotionless, and it's not good for my mental state." Former player turned talkSPORT commentator Paul Nicholson is in studio with us. Paul, what's going on? Player welfare in darts, has he got a point?
Well, he does have a point to a certain extent, but a lot of these players at the top of the rankings, now Humphreys is the world number one, so he's the perfect example of this. You've got to be able to pace yourself in what is a 12-month season. It's not like football where it's 7-8 months. Darts is pretty much when the World Championship is over on January 3rd, they're already thinking about what's happening on January 4th. So if you don't plan ahead, you're going to get to this point where your welfare will be questioned.
Was it like that when you played?
Maybe not to the same degree as Humphreys. I never played in Premier League darts, but it was a weekly thing. You were constantly doing tournaments, you were playing in exhibitions, you were fulfilling sponsorship requirements, that kind of thing. But these days, with the popularity of the sport, it has gone to a new height.
I've met Humphreys. I like the guy immensely. I was really impressed by him. We were live with him on one occasion. And he's a very decent guy. So he wouldn't be saying this for no reason. But now he's saying, that's enough from me. Because there's been a pile-on. He got well and truly trawled online. And has since said, considering the comments, people don't understand what I meant. So it's the last time I will confess my real feelings to the public. It seems that he's had enough in a variety of different ways here, Paul.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really, because I applauded Luke Humphries for saying what was on his mind. And I think people in any sport should have the power to say what they feel in that moment. And Luke was talking to Philip Brzezinski, the MC at the time in Risa, saying, this is fresh off a victory and the adrenaline's high in front of 5,000 mad Germans. So he was saying what was on his mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, if you're going to all of these tournaments as world number one or world number 64 or something else, it's your choice. If you're in the Premier League of darts, you've got an obligation to play 16 weeks on Thursday nights. And if you play on week 17, obviously that's great because you're in the playoffs. But everything in between, you have to manage that. The Players' Championship events, which are held in Leicester, Milton Keynes, Wigan, places like that, European Tour events, it's up to you to program it so that you don't burn out. Unfortunately, it looks like some of the guys are getting to that point.
I'll bring Martin and Simon into this. I mean, Simon, the riches in darts have increased, and Paul knows that. Of course you do, Paul. So darts players can't have their cake and eat it, can they? You want to win a lot of money, you've got to play darts matches.
But I don't know. I don't see what benefit is wisdom if it doesn't profit the wise. I mean, he says he's emotionless, yet then he says his emotions are all over the place. So either you're emotionless or your emotions are all over the place. You might be having a bad day. I have to say, and I know people are not going to like this, I do get tired of hearing about mental health as a situation in every single conversation at the moment that adversity comes knocking. I, of course, understand it. I've had my own challenges in life. So I understand the ramifications of not feeling strong about something. Sometimes adversity is just simply that. It's not a mental health condition. It's a difficult time. And if you feel that you need to take a break from darts, take a break. Let's not turn it into a 4-act play. People are going to turn around and say that darts is in such a wonderful place now. It's being taken very seriously as a sport. It's being monetised properly now. When you go back to the day when I was a massive darts fan, watching Jockey Wilson or Eric Bristow or John Lowe or Cliff Lazarenko, and these guys were nicking livings. The top guys could make it, but even they were struggling to make a real impact into their own lives in terms of commercial opportunities. These guys now are in a wonderful position. And if that isn't enough, then okay, it isn't enough. But I feel that there wasn't a lot of benefit in what Luke said, and I don't suggest that people should be subject to a pile-on. But also, a bunch of strangers saying things that you don't like. Well, in life you have to get over these things. People say things that are unkind, and the fact that he wanted to communicate a message. If people had all been going, oh, well, that's awful, Luke. that's terrible, we're all behind you, I'm not entirely sure he'd have come off social media.
That's a point, is it not, Paul? He's on a hiding to nothing by saying, oh, hang on, enough of the criticism. He's bound to be criticised here. Because you think of darts players, with all due respect, you were one, but you're not Martin Keown playing for Arsenal. You're standing at the Yorkie, 1, 2, 3. Now that I simplify it, of course I do. But put this into perspective for me, Paul. Humphreys played 19 matches during March. His 2025 schedule: European Tour, Players' Championship, World Series of Darts and Premier League. Is it too much? And as Simon says, if it is, take time out.
Yes, I think the power is with the player. That has got to be the message here. Because if you're reaching that point where you feel you're not going to perform at your best, then maybe you should have planned ahead a little bit better. I'm not saying that Humphreys has made a mistake here, but look at Luke Littler, the most talked about darts player in the world. Was he in Riesa? No, he wasn't. Was he in Göttingen a couple of weeks ago? No, he wasn't. Why? Because he's managing his schedule a little bit better than anybody else's at the minute. Now, I know that him winning the Belgian Darts Open at the start of March, after the UK Open, was the kind of thing where you can say, I've won one of these events, I can now take a break from the next few. Yeah. But I will be fascinated to see from these Premier League stars whether they go to Munich over Easter weekend. If they do, unfortunately, we have to go with Simon and say, look, you said you were burnt out. Why are you going to Munich then?
Yes, exactly. The decision's yours.
You played the game, and obviously this is something welfare. We have this argument every week. So isn't this just a case of Humphreys coming to terms with the new expectation now in darts? And there will be people that struggle. You know, you may have found it easy to be away from your family for days on end and playing, and he's just feeling it. Okay, so there's a new expectation. The game of darts now is fantastic, and we're all pleased to see that, you know. We can argue, is it a sport, really? Is it a pub game? Is it a sport? It's sport, right? But nonetheless, there's a real art, isn't there? Yep. You know, you're not having to go to the gym every 5 minutes, but you can throw darts. That is a professional sport now. Yeah. So this guy's struggling a little bit. So we cut him a bit of slack, don't we?
There's a mental stress to it.
Do we cut him slack in this?
Well, a lot of people say it's 25% skill and 75% mental. I would have to go with that. So the struggle is mental. And Luke has said on occasion that he has had his problems with anxiety. But he does have a young family now, Martin. And I'm sure that over the course of the last 8-9 weeks in the Premier League, it's been really tough for him to be away from home. So it's probably a good job that his local game is Manchester on Thursday, so he can go straight home, and then he can go there on Thursday afternoon and it'll be fine. But I think if we were to compare Humphreys to Gerwyn Price, for instance, Price has said this is a bit too much now. Humphreys is only playing in his second Premier League campaign. It's only over a year, so he's still getting used to it, like you say, Martin. But Price has been doing it for more years. Yeah. He should probably have known a little bit more about this pre-this.
Well, I would say the newest one and the oldest one are the two that suffer the most, in actual fact. And that this is an expectation that I would be looking at, you know, because if you've played the game for a long time and it's new, suddenly the workload goes through the roof. You're like, okay, maybe it's time I set out of this, you know, it's too much. Yeah. It's a great time, though, for darts, and they have to embrace it as well, but we have to get the balance. And there will be casualties. And I think that, you know, obviously we have a PFA. I don't know what you'll have in equivalent in darts. But, you know, they'll have their say at some point.
As the point has been made repeatedly, they don't have to play in these games. Players do. Just slightly different arguments. And I think mental tiredness is as big a component as physical. And so when you're talking about the concentration span of what dart play, and people suggest it's not a sport,
it's hard to say no to some people.
That's a good, interesting point to finish on, Paul. Have they signed up to anything that they've got to play a set number of matches?
No, they don't.
No. So as Simon says, that they're not bound by a schedule.
When you play Premier League darts, you are expected to play the 16-week campaign. You sign up for it when you're selected, or if you're in the top 4 of the Order of Merit. Yeah. You've got to play it. Unfortunately, last Thursday, Michael van Gerwen didn't play because of injury, and he consequently did not go to the International Darts Open as well.
Conversely, we love what they give us, because we love them as individuals. You know, their personalities in their own right. So we'll see. Bit of player welfare in the world of darts. It seems it's real, and it's Luke Humphries who's telling us. Paul Nicholson, former player turned talkSPORT commentator.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.